Okay, hello everyone. I will make this presentation about the integration of the spirit with the body. And most of the reference that will be from the spirit codification, even if there are more reference about this and with more details written by other authors. But I think it's more important for us to take the base, and I correlate all the information between the. It will be a brief presentation and with the basic information, but I hope that will be help anyone to have a clear perspective. First of all, I will excuse myself for I'm not speaking very correctly English, but I will try to be very clear and to explain myself well. And the origin of everything that exists is God, source of infinite power. When the act of the creation gives rise to the spirit, the generating principle of the intelligent incorporeal individualities that populates the universe, and the universal fluid source for which all things are organized and potentially decrease gradation down to the matter. These two expressions of the divinity creation, spirit and matter, are never revealed separately except through thought, since in God everything gets unified. God, spirit, and matter, the universal Trinity. In the Spirit book, at question 26, ask, so are two general elements in the universe, matter and spirit? Yes, and over everything is God, the creator and author of all. These three elements comprise the principle of all that exists. They are the universal Trinity. In a similar way, man is a Trinitarian in his constitution of spirit, various spirit and physical body, perfectly integrated and articulated at the service of the immortal being. In Medium's book, Allan Kardec told us that numerous observation and irrefutable facts have demonstrated that human beings consist of three components: the soul or spirit, the intelligent principle in which the moral sense resides; the body, the material and the dense envelope, which the spirit temporarily uses as a garment for fulfilling certain providential designs; the perispirit, the fluid and semi-material envelope, which serves as the link between the soul and the body. And I first start with the spirit and speak about a little bit about the spirit, and then I will end the soul. We all know that the spiritual principle has its own existence. Individualized, the spiritual element constitutes being called spirit. Spirits are therefore intelligent individuals, incorporeal, populating the universe created by God, independent of matter. In the Spirit's book at question 33, what is spirit? The intelligent principle of the universe. And 33a, what is spirited innermost nature, said, it is not easy to explain spirit in your language. For you, it's nothing because it's not something palpable. Nevertheless, for us, it's something. You must realize that nothing means nothing and nothing does not exist. Even so, if we don't know exactly what is, we can have some furthers about what is the spirit. In order to define the spiritual body in some way, it's necessary to consider, first of all, that it's not a reflection of the physical body, since in reality, it's the physical body that reflects it. In the same way as itself, the spiritual body is in turn the portrait of the mental body, which presides over its formation. From the point of view of constitution of function, the spiritual body is the physical vehicle par excellence, with its electromagnetic structure, somewhat modified in relation to the genetic and nutritional phenomena, but in accordance, however, with the acquisition of the mind that handles it. So corresponds to the mind, which is a reflection on the planes of phenomena and where consciousness is projected towards the temporary personality in each evolutionary phases of integral being. In that being in development, two mental levels are manifested, acting one on the other incessantly, the conscious and the unconscious. The conscious, it's much broader and more complex because it's the storehouse of all individual experiences. The conscious is for the unconscious. As active force in the embodied spirit, we have thought, feelings, and will, which together play an important role, forming the mental current that, under the command of the will act on matter and fluid. It will act on matter and fluids to transform them. It is through this mental current that the energetic structure of the perispirit vibrate, activating in turn the nervous system in the physical field, so that the spirit becomes aware of what is happening in the somatic body and behind it, sending orders and stimuli to regulate their action. Spirits simply possesses instruments more perfect than yours, the will and the permission of God. In the Spirit's book, at the question 82, ask, it is correct to say that the spirits are immaterial? How can we define something when we have no terms for comparison and when we only have an insufficient language at our disposal? Can one who is born blind define light? Immaterial is not the right word. Incorporeal would be more precise, because you should understand that since it is a creation, a spirit must be something. A spirit, it's synthesized light matter. You have no analogy for describing it. It is also so materialized that your sense cannot perceive it. At the question 22, matter is generally defined as that which has extension, that which can impress our sense, that which is impenetrable. Are these definitions correct? From your point of view, they are correct, because you can only talk about matters that are familiar too. Matters, however, all exist in states that are unfamiliar. For example, it may be so ethereal and subtle that your sense cannot detect it. It is matter, nonetheless, even thought you do not perceive it as such. I made main further to be more clear about some furthers that the Spirit has. And like essential attribute, we are all the spirits are children of the same Father. We have the same consideration. We have same point of departure. We are created simple and ignorant. And we all reach the degree of perfection. And the spirit are intelligent individuals, incorporeal, thinking being, populating the universe, independent of matter. About the internal constitution of function, what we know is that the spiritual body is the physical vehicle par excellence, is an electromagnetic, has an electromagnetic structure, somewhat modified in relation to the genetic and nutritional phenomena. the mind, it is a reflection on the planes of phenomena. Thought, feelings, and will, forming the mental current under the command of the will act on matter and fluids. And through this mental current, the energetic structure of the perispirit vibrate, activating in turn the nervous system in the physical field. It is matter nonetheless, even then you do not perceive it as such. We don't perceive the spirit, but it's a matter, a synthesized matter that we don't have any, we don't know about this kind of matter, anything, but we used to use the term of spiritual matter. And I had to speak a little about also about the soul, because it's important to know that as long as the spirit is incarnated, we call it soul. After disincarnating, is returned to its natural state of spirit. This fact is pointed out in the Book of Spirit. 134. What is the soul? An incarnated spirit. What was the soul before its union with a body, a spirit? Are soul and spirits therefore one and the same thing? Yes, souls are now no more than spirits. Before uniting with the body, the soul is one of the intelligent beings who populate the invisible world, and it later temporarily assumes a physical envelope in order to purify and enlighten itself. And I just want to speak about soul, because most of the people could think that the soul and the spirit is different. But it's not different, it's the same thing. Just when is in body, we call soul, and then when it's spirit, is spirit. With this reference, for all of us, is clear that the soul and the spirit are the same thing, and that the quality of the soul are the spirit's qualities. I will speak now about the perispirit, that they call the fluidic body of the spirit. Is the intimate nature of the spirit itself, that is of the thinking being. It's completely unknown to us. He is revealed to us by his action, and those actions can only impress our material sense through a material intermediary. In the spirit books, at the question 93, is the spirit per se without a covering, or it is surrounded by some kind of substance? The spirit is surrounded by a substance that might look vaporous to you, but which is still quite dense to us. Nevertheless, it is sufficiently vaporous to be able to raise itself up to the air and travel to whatever it wants to go. Due to its spiritual essence, the spirit is an indefined, abstract being that cannot act directly upon matter. It needs an intermediary. This intermediary is the fluid envelope, which is in a certain way an integral part of the spirit, a semi-material envelope, which could say is linked to the matter by its origin, and to the spirituality by its ethereal nature. Later on, I will explain more about this. In the spirit books, at question 94, ask, where does the spirit get this semi-material envelope? From each globe's own universal fluid. That is why the perispirit is not the same on all words. It's passing from one word to other. Spirits change their envelope just as you change your clothes. Spirit extract their perispirit from the environment in which they find themselves, which means that this envelope is formed from environmental fluids. The result is that the compositional elements of the perispirit must be vary according to the different words. Depending on whatever the spirit itself, it's more purified or less so, its perispirit form or pure or dense parts of the fluid suitable for the world where it is incarnated. The spirit produces there always by comparisons and not by equivalence, the effects of chemical reaction that attracts to itself the molecules that its nature can assimilate. From these crucial facts may be drawn the inner composition of the perispirit. It's not identical among all the incarnates or disincarnate spirit that populates the earth or the space surrounded it. However, the same does not apply to the corporeal body, which, as has been shown, is formed of identical elements. However, highly or little involved the spirit may be. Also, the effects produced by the body are the same for everyone, and their needs are the same. Whereas everybody is different with respect to their perispirit. A further result, the perispiritual envelope of the same spirit change with progress, and this is important, is the perispirit change with its progress, and the spirit change with its progress in each incarnation, even if it incarnates in the same environment. Even if he came more times at the earth or in other world. In the exceptional case where high order spirits incarnate on mission on a less involved world, they have a less dense perispirit than the indigenous inhabitants of that world. The environment always has to do with the nature of the beings that must live in it. Fish are in the water, land beings in the air, and spirits beings in the spiritual or ethereal fluid, even on earth. The ethereal fluid is to the needs of spirit what the atmosphere is to the needs of incarnates. At the question in the Spirit book, at the question 95, does the spirit's semi-material envelope have a specific form, and can it be seen? Yes, a form according to the spirit's volition, and that is how it sometimes appears to you in dreams or in the waking state, and how it may take on a visible or even tangible form. By its very nature and its normal state, the perispirit is invisible. The same may be said of countless fluids that we know to exist, but with which we have never seen. But like certain fluid, it can undergo modification that render it visible, whatever by a sort of condensation or by a change in its molecular arrangement. This is when it can appear to us in a vaporous form. Condensation can be such that the perispirit acquires the property of a solid and tangible body, but it can instantaneously return to its ethereal and invisible state. We can understand this process by comparing it to steam, which can go from invisibility to a mist, then to a liquid, and finally to a solid, and vice versa. These diverse states of the spirits, however, are due to the will of the spirits, and this is important itself, and not to a physical or outside causes, as it's the case with our guesses. A spirit can appear as when it places its perispirit in the state necessary to become visible. In case of apparition, but a simple desire is not enough producing the effect, because the modification of the perispirit can only occur when it combines its own fluid with the specific fluid of a medium. In the case of apparition, we all know that the spirit takes animalized fluid from the human being and could make himself visible. Another property of the perispirit is the penetrability inherent to its eternal nature. No type of matter can obstruct it. It can pass through any as easily as light passes through a transparent object. Hence, there are no means of preventing spirits from entering a place. They can visit prisoners in the cells, or as easy as they can visit someone in the middle of an open field. And the main furthers are that the spirit is invisible, but can be visible if takes animalized fluids from a medium and make him visible. Look vaporous, fluidic envelope. The unique composition is not identical among all the incarnate or disincarnate spirits. Is linked to the matter by its origin and to the spirituality by its ethereal nature, drawn from the universal cosmic fluid. Is linked to the body by chakras or force centers. Is the link between the spirit and matter. Is the vehicle of its thoughts from transmitting movement to the various parts of the organism. Has penetrability, adaptability, is solid and tangible in the case of operation. And here I mentioned just a few properties, but there are also a lot more properties that he has. But isn't according with what I am presenting. So it's just what I decide to present. And the question is that the perispirit part of the spirit, or is it taken from the universal fluid? I speak with different person, spiritist person, and everyone has different ideas. So I tried to, I was searching and try to make my thoughts clear. And one of them thinks that the perispirit is creating when you go to a world, you take the fluids, you are just taking the fluids and you adapt your spirit to that world. And the perispirit is making this. And others consider the perispirit like how an individual corp that has his own life. And this is not correct, because the perispirit is linked. It's part of the spirit. And it is coordinated by the spirit. And it's just taking the fluids from the world that it goes and adapt himself to that world. And I already said that. So they say to us that the ethereal fluid is to the need of spirit what the atmosphere is the needs of incarnate. And this is how we absorb here. The observation by the human body is achieving through the respiration system, through the skin, and from food goes directly to the digestive system. What I want to say with this is that it's how we assimilate that fluids and how we help our body. But the spirit has other way, but he assimilates also that fluid from the universal fluid. It's just an example and a comparison. When we go to the forest, we also have a different air, different atmosphere, and we also take fluids, and we revigorate ourselves, and we have a different change of mood. And this is what I did want to explain in terms of perispirit, and now I will speak about the vital fluid. In the spirit book, at the 27 question, ask, so are the two general elements in the universe matter and spirit? However, to the element of matter must be added the universal fluid, which plays an intermediary role between spirit and matter per se, since matter is too dense to spirit to act upon it directly. Almost from a certain point of view, this fluid may be regarded as part of the material element. It's different from it due to the specific property. It is, if it were simply matter, there would be no reason for spirit not to be matter too. It is placed between spirit and matter, yet it's fluid, just as matter is matter. And it's countless the combination with matter, and under the direction of spirit, it's capable of producing an infinite variety of things about which you still know very, very little. By being the agent upon which spirit acts, this universal, primitive, or elementary fluid is the principle without which matter would forever remain in a state of dispersion. It would never acquire the property given to it by gravitation. The universal cosmic fluid is the primitive elementary matter, whose modification and transformation comprise the innumerable variety of bodies found in nature. As the universal elementary principle, it's offered to distinct states, etherization and imponderability, which may be considered the normal primitive state, and materialization of ponderability, which is in a certain way only consecutive to the former. The starting point for the universal fluid, its degree of absolute purity, about which nothing can give us an idea. The opposite point, it is transformation into tangible matter. Between these two extremes are innumerable transformations that approximate one extreme on the other to variety degrees. The fluid closest to materiality and consequently the least pure comprise what may be called the spiritual atmosphere of the earth. It is within this environment also comprised of various degrees of purity environment, also comprised of that the incarnate and disincarnate spirits on the earth absorb the elements needed from the economy of their existence. As subtle and intelligible as these fluids may be to us, they are nevertheless of rather coarse nature when compared to the ethereal fluids on the higher sphere. The same occurs in the surface of all worlds, except for the difference in their constitution and the condition of vitality proper to each one. The less material the life on them, the less affinity the spiritual fluids have with matter per se. Between the spirit, the perispirit in the body, it is what is called the vital fluid. Distraction was presented by Allan Kardec as a vital principle, a modification originating from the universal fluid, which determines the phenomena of life when it acts in association with the matter. That principle is still matter, although organized in vibratory expression that exceed the limits of a perception until then used by the human being. The vital principle is objectified in living beings through a field called the double ethereal or vital body, which, as Andrelli said, it made up of effluvia of a neuropsychic nature, emanating from the group of cell, which the function of ensuring balance between soul and body. This energy penetrated the physical body and radiates out of it, being able to partially absorbed by other living beings or spread out in broader fields, returning to the place of origin. In human beings, these radiations are modeled by the modeling force of the spirit. And the main feature are for the vital fluid is that is part for the universal cosmic fluid, is between the perispirit and the body, and works with the perispirit, help to give information to the spirit, and the spirit gives information to the body, coordinate the body. Without him, the spirit cannot unite to the body. It's called the double ethereal or vital body, give the phenomena of life in association with matter. Is matter organized in vibratory expression, penetrate the body and organs and maintain the life in body. Combined with the perispirit helps the spirit to collect information from the body. With help of the organs, maintain the vitality. The vital fluid is not the same in each person or species. One can have more, and one of them can have less vital fluid. But the person that have more can donate to the person that have less. And especially we do that when the person could be ill or have some necessity to go on with his life. And the human body, it can be considered due to the complexity of its function and purpose for each which it is intended as the most perfect machine that it's known. In the Spirit book at 20a, ask, then how may we define matter? Matter is the tie that enchains spirit. It is the instrument that spirits use and upon which it simultaneously exerts its action. Before matter could be the object of labor of the spirit for the development of its faculty, it was necessary for the spirit to be able to act upon it. And this is why it comes to dwell in it like a lumberjack dwells in the forest. Since matter had to be simultaneously this object and instrument of labor, God, instead of joining the spirit to the rigid stone, created organized, flexible body capable of both receiving all the impulses of the spirit will and of lending itself to all its movements. The body is therefore simultaneously the envelope and the instrument of the spirit. And as the spirit acquires new aptitude, it closes itself in another envelope that it's appropriate for the new type of work that it must perform, just as less heavy tools are employed by those capable of performing more than dedicated work. To be more exact, it must be started that it is the spirit itself that models its own envelope and renders it acquired for its new requirements. The spirit perfects, develops, and completes the organism to the degree that it feels the need to manifest new faculties. In other words, it tailors it to the stature of its intelligence. God furnished the spirit with the materials, but it is up to the spirit to use them. When the spirits must incarnate in a human body that is about to be formed, a fluidic tie, which is nothing but an extension of its perispirit, connect is to the zygote, to which is attracted by an irresistible force from the moment of conception. As the fetus develops, the tightens. Under the influence of the fetus' vital material principle, the perispirit, which possesses certain properties of matter, it's united molecular by molecular to the body that it's forming, a fact from which one may deduce that the spirit, through the intermediary of its perispirit, sort of take root in the fetus, much as a plant takes root in the soil. When the fetus is fully developed, the union is complete and the being is born to external life. However, at the same time that the spirit recovers its self-awareness, it loses the memory of its past, but without losing the faculties, qualities, and aptitudes that it had acquired previously, aptitudes which had remained temporarily in a latent state, and which upon resuming their activity will help the spirit to do more and do better than what it did its previously incarnation. The incarnated spirit obligation to provide from the sustenance of its body, its safely, and the well-being constraint is to apply its faculty in the search to exercise and develop such faculties. Its union with matter is useful for its evolution, and that's why incarnation is necessary. Furthermore, by means of the intelligent labor that it performs upon matter to its own advantage, it conquers in the physical transformation and progress of the global that it inhabits. It's laboring for its own progress and how it contributes to the creator's work as an unexpected agent. Constant nor perpetual. It's only transitory. Upon leaving one body behind, it doesn't take another immediately. During the interval between its incarnations, the spirit also progresses in the sense that it uses for its advancement the knowledge and experience acquired during its corporeal life. It examines what it did during the early stay, reviewing what it learned, reorganizes its wrongs, draws up its plans, and makes resolution by which hopes to be guided in a new existence as it tries to do better. It is in this way that each life is a step forward on the path of progress, a sort of practical schooling. Incarnation is therefore not normally a punishment for the spirit, as some might think, but a condition inherent to the involved state of the spirit and the means of progressing. By an opposite effect, this union between the perispirit and corporeal matter a union that had been completed under the influence of the zygote's vital principle, terminates when this principle ceases to act due to the disorganization of the body. This union, which had been maintained only by an acting forces, break down as soon as his forces cease to act. Then the perispirit disengages molecules by molecule as when it was uniting, and the spirit is set free. It is not the departure of the spirit that caused the death of the body. Rather, the death of the body is what causes the departure of spirit. In the spirit book at the question 25, ask, is the spirit independent of matter, or is only a property of matter, as color are property of light and sound is a property of air? They are distinct from each other, but the union of spirit and matter is necessary to enable matter to be intelligent. The spirit-body integration is perceived by the reciprocal action between the organic and mental energy. So the spirit, with his perispirit, has his vital fluid that help in combination with perispirit gives to the human body intelligence and life. Oh, everything in the universe is connecting. Everything forms a chain. Everything is subject to the grand and harmonious law of unity, from the most physical dense to the most spiritually purified. Thank you very much.